Each morning, real setups are broken down with entry strategies and technical reasoning behind every trade. This is today's best trade setups with Verified Investing.
Welcome to today's best trade setups. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Today, we're going to cover a couple different stocks that have converging trend lines. Anytime we're looking at stocks, we want to have a confluence of different factors. And as technical traders, we look for trend lines. Also, I'm going to talk about Goldman Sachs. GS is up quite substantially over the last week and even month. It's getting into a couple converging trend lines, so this could signal the top. AVGO also had earnings yesterday. It was down as much as 8%. I do have a key gap fill that's a really aggressive level for day traders, and then a potential another swing trade that's a little bit less risky with a potential stop out level. So let's go ahead, go ahead and just jump into the charts. The first chart we're going to go over is the SMH. We've been monitoring this stock for some time. So like I said, multiple trend lines. The first trend line that I have is connecting the pivot lows from May 2025. Look at how price consolidated in this price section or along this trend line. And then this is really the midline of a parallel channel that I've had in my charts previously. My shortable level is $388.36. For those of you who are aggressive, the shortable level is $374.10. This is a gap fill. Now, talking about converging trend lines, I'm going to have to zoom way, way, way back out in the charts of the SMH. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this low pivot here, and I'm going to connect it through this trend line. So yeah, this low pivot and then this high pivot point right here. You can't see it because I'm not zoomed in, but what I'm doing is extending this trend line out, and look at this. It gets through these two pivot highs, and then look at how price action hit along that trend line and got rejection. And so now if price action does get back in this or right to this lower end of this trend line, this would be additional resistance. Based on the fact that this trend line goes back to the lows of March of 2022, this is a confluence of a couple different factors. Again, not only this upsloping trend line, which is a midline of a parallel channel, but that upsloping trend line that goes back to 2022, which is one of the reasons that I really like this shortable level at 374 and then ultimately at 388. You've got, again, a couple different resistance levels that price action should get a nice resistance to the downside from. All right, Unity Software, we've been monitoring this. This is just going to be a brief overview. My shortable levels are still at $55.55, with the second gap fill or the second shortable level at $58.48. This is a gap in the charts. These are only day trades. I don't necessarily think it's good for a swing trade. If we go to the monthly time frame on Unity Software, it is still way at the low ends of the charts. Okay, Oracle is a stock that we went over yesterday, and it actually hit one level. I actually had four specific levels for you guys on ORCL. It got to the first one. It looked like it was going to hit that second one. However, it was about 30 cents away and then get a really big bounce to the upside. Let's go ahead and monitor that chart real quick. First long level on ORCL was $198 or $89.96, basically a pierce of 190. It flushed that level, got down to almost my second level, which was $185.67. Had you taken this first trade, you could have taken over a 5% gainer. I actually took this in the swing trade service in Smart Money Stocks and ETFs, and I took ORCU and took 14% off of this level right here. So that was a great opportunity to enter a trade for not only a swing trade, but a day trade as well. GEV is another stock that we're currently monitoring. I have my first shortable level. This is a beautiful gap fill in the charts. $723 is that first level. And then you've got this green bar pivot top right here at $731. If price starts consolidate above or at this level at 731, it could head all the way up to about $750. For me on GEV, this would be more of my max upside target. If you zoom out in the charts, look at this catastrophic move to the upside. So you had this low right here. It was not quite a bottoming tail, but look at this move on a huge stock, 38% to the upside. Yes, it does have a $2 billion backlog, and it is getting, now it's upped its dividend to 50 cents instead of 25 cents. A lot of different things. They're also doing buybacks. However, this could be more of the sell the news event. So again, $723 is my first shortable level. I think eventually you're going to get a rollover. If we can recapture this pivot top at $677.29, you're going to go lower and probably come back down to this gap fill at 625 and then even potentially lower. All right, let's go ahead and go into Goldman Sachs. I have a couple different upsloping trend lines that are converging on GS. So this could signal more of a top. This is more of a swing trade, not necessarily a day trade. So when we get into this trade, or when I show you the charts, I'm just showing you the resistance levels on a swing trade basis. So what I've done is connected this pivot top from the 17th of July, 2024. Here's a secondary pivot top from the 11th of November. I've connected those two pivots and then drawn a trend line. See how it kissed this level here? And now we're right back into that level. Actually trading at $915 in the pre-market. It looks to be topping out. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we've got another converging trend line in that area. So I'm going to take this low pivot here from the 7th of April lows, and then draw it through all this price consolidation. Look at this. Goes right up into that about $915 level. See how price consolidated on this trend line, and then finally broke to the downside. So this would just be a retrace to the scene of the crime. So $915 for me, max upside of about a $925 level for a swing trade. Once we can get price to reject again, our first level of support is going to be 840. Once we break this level on Goldman Sachs, then we're coming back down to the $739. You got this low pivot here, as well as all this price consolidation. AVGO had earnings yesterday, and it is dropping substantially. I do have a couple different levels for you. It did hit the first gap fill in the pre-market. It was down over 8%, which is actually a pretty good move on AVGO. This is more of an aggressive level because it's already hit this level in the pre-market. Let's go ahead and jump to that chart. AVGO, if we can get another bid to the downside, the first level is $381.03 with your secondary long opportunity at $371.18. So if price action decides it wants to close below 381.03 on a 15-minute closing basis, there's two different options, right? You can add every $5 and dollar cost average all the way down to 371. Or what you can do is you can exit the trade and look to re-enter it at 371.18. If price starts to consolidate at or right at this level and pierces this on a 15-minute closing basis, would be a stop out level. And I would wait for this, either this green bar candle low or high, the opening candle of this green bar candle at 347.72, or you can wait for a gap fill at $340.20. For AVGO from the highs, that would be a pretty substantial move. That's an 18% move to the downside. There will be a lot of buyers in this area. Could flush it out a little bit more, but this is ultimately my less aggressive, and this is the level that I'm definitely going to take this if I can get down there on the charts today. A couple of other stocks that we've been monitoring that are continuing to push all-time highs is LITE as well as Carvana. So I'm going to go over those charts real quick for you. First one is LITE. It's continuing to push. I still have this upswing trend line that we've been monitoring in the charts. It's currently trading at $366 in the pre-market. I still have an upside target of $395.97. Could want to push up and tag that $400 even number, but I would be willing to, on a day trading basis, get in this stock at $395.97, knowing that I've got that additional resistance at that whole round number of $400, and then get a nice rejection. If LITE starts to slide roll over, you could get a nice move all the way down to this gap fill around $300. So ultimately, I think it's going to go to $395.97, but then pull back to below $300 or right at the $300 level. And Carvana is the other one we're monitoring as well. I've still got this upswing trend line. Connects a pivot high from November 2024 highs, secondary pivot right here, highs in July 2025. Connected those two, and now here's my resistance level at $492.07. For me, this is my day trade shortable level, as well as more of a swing trade level. It did have news that it got added to the S&P 500, but this could be more of a sell the news event as well. That hasn't necessarily played out. So we could get one more push to the upside based on the relative strength index. It is getting overly extended. So I'm a swing trade short at 492.07. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you joining me every morning at 8:45 when I go live. If you guys are getting something out of this, please make sure you're liking, you're following, subscribing, sharing with your friends so that way they can get this information as well. Gareth Soloway is going to be going live in less than 5 minutes, talking about the potential for the reversal in AVGO and what this sell-off could eventually mean for the whole semiconductor market and what's going forward. So you guys don't want to miss that. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.